The big fight. The sky was a mess of falling ships and flashing lights. Earth had won the first round, but the fight wasn't over yet. Admiral Zorg's angry face filled the screens in the underwater base. "You think you've won," he snarled. "This isn't over, puny humans." Suddenly, alarms started blaring. A technician shouted, "More ships incoming." Hundreds of them. Sarah's uncle frowned. "I thought we got them all." Zack 7 shook his head. "The Galactic Council always has backup plans. These must be their reserve fleet." Outside, the new ships appeared. They were smaller than the black warships, but there were so many of them. They started shooting at cities and military bases. "Our pulse weapons won't work on all of them at once," a scientist said. "We need a new plan." That's when Sarah had an idea. "Wait, remember those tiny robot bugs we were working on? The ones that eat metal?" Her uncle's eyes lit up. "The nanobots. But they're not ready yet. We have to try," Sarah insisted. "It's our only chance." Quickly, they put the plan together. They would launch the experimental nanobots at the alien ships. If it worked, the tiny robots would eat through the ship's hulls. All around the world, launchers were prepared. Zack 7 helped program the nanobots with info about alien metal. "Ready?" Sarah's uncle asked, his finger on the launch button. Everyone nodded. "Here goes nothing," he said, and pressed the button. Thousands of tiny capsules shot into the sky. They looked like fireworks, but each one was filled with millions of nanobots. For a few tense minutes, nothing seemed to happen. The alien ships kept attacking. Then, slowly, things started to change. Some ships began to wobble in the air. Others started smoking. "It's working," someone shouted. On the screens, they could see the smaller alien ships starting to fall. The nanobots were eating through their hulls, disabling their systems. But the fight wasn't over yet. Some ships were still attacking, and they were headed straight for the underwater base. "They'd found us," Sarah yelled. "We need to evacuate." As everyone rushed to escape pods, Zack 7 had an idea. He grabbed Sarah's arm. "Wait, I can talk to them. Maybe I can buy us some time." Before anyone could stop him, Zack 7 ran to the communication station. He sent out a message to the alien ships in the Galactic Council's language. On the big screen, Admiral Zorg's face appeared again. He looked surprised to see Zack 7. "Traitor," Zorg growled. "You dare speak to me?" Zack 7 stood tall. "This attack is wrong, Admiral. Humans aren't primitive. They're smart and brave. They deserve to be part of the galactic community, not destroyed." Zorg laughed. "And why should I listen to you?" "Because," Zack 7 said, "I'm not the only one who thinks this way." Suddenly, more faces appeared on the screen. Other alien students who had been on Earth. They all started talking at once, defending humans and Earth. This caught Zorg off guard. He hadn't expected a rebellion from his own people. While Zorg was distracted, Sarah and her team finished their evacuation. The last group, including Zack 7, jumped into an escape pod just as the base started to flood. They shot up towards the surface, watching through the pod's windows as the battle raged on. But something was changing. Some of the alien ships had stopped attacking. Others were actually turning on each other. "What's happening?" Sarah asked. Zack 7 smiled. "It looks like not all aliens agree with the Galactic Council. Some of them are on our side." As they reached the surface, they saw an amazing sight. The sky was full of ships, but now they were fighting each other. Earth's defenders took advantage of the confusion, taking out more enemy ships. Hours passed. The fighting got less and less. Finally, as the sun began to rise, the last enemy ship fell from the sky. Earth had won. In the days that followed, there was a lot to do. Cities needed rebuilding. A lot of alien tech had crashed on Earth, and scientists were excited to study it. But the biggest change was yet to come. A week after the battle, A new ship appeared in the sky, but this one came in peace. It was a delegation from other alien races. They had heard about Earth's brave fight and humans' quick thinking. They were impressed. "We would like to invite Earth to join the galactic community," the alien leader said. As equals, the world celebrated. Humans had not only saved their planet, but had also found their place in the galaxy. As for Zach 7, he was hailed as a hero on both Earth and his home planet. He decided to stay on Earth as an ambassador, helping humans and aliens understand each other better. Sarah teased him about it. "See, I told you our alien exchange student program was a good idea." Zach 7 laughed. Earth might not be perfect, but it was home. And he couldn't wait to see what adventures would come next. Humans find a big secret. The world was in chaos. It had been 3 days since the aliens attacked. They hit many cities on Earth and all the space colonies. Millions of people were dead or missing. Emily's story was on every news channel. Her face became a symbol of the war. In Washington, D.C., world leaders met in a big underground room. They looked tired and scared. The President of the United States stood up to speak. "We've lost too many lives," she said, her voice shaking. "Our weapons don't work against the aliens. We need a miracle." Just then, the door burst open. An old man with wild white hair ran in. Guards tried to stop him, but he yelled, "I have the answer." Everyone in the room was shocked. Who was this old man? The man caught his breath and said, "My name is Dr. Alan Carter. I've kept a secret for 50 years. Now it's time to tell it." The room went quiet. All eyes were on Dr. Carter. He pulled out an old tablet and pressed some buttons. A big screen on the wall lit up. It showed pictures of huge spaceships. "These ships," Dr. Carter said, "are Earth's secret weapon. We built them long ago to protect us." The president looked confused. "How come we don't know about this?" Dr. Carter sighed. "It's a long story. 50 years ago, we found alien technology buried on Mars. It was millions of years old. We used it to build these ships. They're more powerful than anything we have now." People in the room started whispering. This was big news. "But," Dr. Carter continued, "we were scared. What if other aliens came looking for this tech? So we hid the ships all over the solar system. Only a few people knew about them. I'm the last one left." A general stood up. "Where are these ships now? Can we use them?" Dr. Carter nodded. "They're in secret bases on moons and asteroids. And yes, we can use them. But we need to wake them up first." The president leaned forward. "How do we do that?" "There's a main control room," Dr. Carter explained. "It's hidden in the Rocky Mountains. If we can get there and start the system, all the ships will wake up." The room was buzzing with excitement now. For the first time in days, there was hope. But then, a scientist raised her hand. "Wait," she said. "If this tech is so old, how do we know it still works?" Dr. Carter smiled. "Good question. The aliens who made this tech were smart. The ships are in a special sleep mode. They don't age. They're as good as new." The president stood up. "Dr. Carter, this could save us all. But it's risky. The aliens might find out." Dr. Carter nodded. "Yes, it's dangerous. But what choice do we have? Every minute we wait, more people die." The room went quiet again. Everyone was thinking about Emily and all the others who died. Finally, the president spoke. "Okay, let's do it. We'll send a team with Dr. Carter to this control room. It's our best shot." The meeting ended quickly after that. They picked a small team. Dr. Carter, 2 soldiers, and a young tech expert named Sarah. As they left the room, Sarah asked Dr. Carter, "Why didn't you tell anyone about this before?" The old man looked sad. "I wanted to. Many times, but we promised to keep it secret unless Earth was in real danger. I guess that time is now." They walked out of the building. The sky was dark with smoke from the alien attacks. In the distance, they could see the alien ships hovering over the city. Sarah looked up at the ships and then at Dr. Carter. "I hope your secret is as big as you say. We're going to need it." Dr. Carter patted her shoulder. "It is, my dear. And it's about time humanity remembered how amazing we can be." As they got into a helicopter to fly to the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Carter thought about Emily. He had seen her face on the news. "This is for you, little one," he whispered, "and for all of us." The helicopter lifted off, flying low to avoid alien sensors. The team was quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. They knew that the fate of humanity might depend on what they found in those mountains. The secret that had been kept for 50 years was finally out. Now, they just had to hope it was enough to save them all. Old ships, wake up! The helicopter flew low over the Rocky Mountains. Dr. Carter, Sarah, and the two soldiers, Mike and John, looked out the windows. They could see alien ships in the distance, searching for survivors. "We're close," Dr. Carter said. "The entrance is hidden in that cliff face." The pilot nodded and steered towards a steep mountain wall. As they got closer, Sarah gasped. Part of the rock slid open, revealing a dark cave. "Wow," Mike whispered. "I've never seen anything like that." The helicopter landed inside the cave. As soon as they stepped out, the rock door closed behind them. They were in total darkness for a moment. Then lights came on along the walls. "Follow me," Dr. Carter said. He walked to what looked like a normal rock wall and pressed his hand against it. A hidden door slid open. "Cool," John said, impressed. They walked into a long hallway. The walls were made of smooth metal that looked brand new, even though it was 50 years old. "The aliens who built this were very advanced," Dr. Carter explained. "Their technology doesn't age like ours." At the end of the hallway was a big round door. It looked like a bank vault. Dr. Carter turned to the team. "This is it. The control room is behind this door, but opening it won't be easy." Sarah stepped forward. "What do we need to do?" "There are 3 locks," Dr. Carter said. "Each needs a different key. I have one." He pulled out a small crystal from his pocket. It glowed with a soft blue light. "The other 2 keys are hidden in this base. We need to find them." Mike frowned. "Why make it so hard to get in?" "To protect it," Dr. Carter said. "If it was easy, anyone could wake up the ships, even the wrong people." They split into 2 teams. Sarah went with Dr. Carter, while Mike and John went together. They had to solve puzzles and avoid traps to find the keys. Sarah and Dr. Carter faced a room full of laser beams. "We have to get through without touching the lasers," Sarah said. Dr. Carter nodded. "Yes, but look closely. Some of the lasers flicker. Those are safe to touch." Sarah watched carefully. She saw the pattern. "I got it." She moved quickly through the laser grid, touching only the flickering beams. On the other side, she found a pedestal with a red crystal. The second key. Meanwhile, Mike and John faced a different challenge. They were in a room that was filling with water. "We need to find the key before we drown," John yelled. Mike looked around frantically. Then he saw something shiny at the bottom of the room. He took a deep breath and dived. The water was ice cold. Mike swam down, his lungs burning. He saw the green crystal key and grabbed it, but when he tried to swim up, his foot was stuck. John saw Mike struggling. He dived in too. Together, they freed Mike's foot. They swam up just as the room filled completely with water. A door opened, draining the water and letting them out. They all met back at the main door, soaking wet but successful. "Great job, everyone," Dr. Carter said. He looked proud. "Now let's wake up our old friends." They put the 3 crystal keys into slots on the door. With a loud hum, the massive door swung open. Inside was a room straight out of a sci-fi movie. Screens covered the walls, showing maps of the solar system. In the center was a control panel with a big red button. "Is that what I think it is?" Sarah asked. Dr. Carter nodded. The wake-up button for the fleet. They all gathered around the button. Dr. Carter put his hand on it, but didn't press it yet. Once we do this, there's no going back, he said. The aliens will know we have this technology. It will change everything. They thought about Earth, about all the people who had died, about Emily. They knew they had to do it. For Earth, Dr. Carter said. Everyone put their hands on top of his. For Earth, they all said together. Then they pressed the button. At first, nothing happened. Then the screens lit up, showing hundreds of dots activating all over the solar system. It's working. Sarah shouted. The ships are waking up. They watched in awe as the dots started moving. Hidden ships rose from the moons of Jupiter, from deep craters on Mars, from asteroids, and even from under Earth's oceans. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. The aliens have noticed, Mike said. On one screen, they saw alien ships moving to attack the newly awakened human fleet, but the old ships were fast. They dodged the attacks easily. Look, John pointed at another screen. A group of human ships had surrounded an alien vessel. They fired strange energy weapons. The alien ship exploded. For the first time since the invasion, the aliens were losing. Dr. Carter smiled. Humanity just got back in the game. As they watched the space battle unfold, Sarah thought about what this meant. We have a chance now, she said. A real chance to fight back. Dr. Carter nodded. Yes, we do. But this is just the beginning. Now, we need to learn how to use these ships, how to fight a war in space. They all looked at each other, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. The future was uncertain, but at least now they had hope. Outside the base, in the night sky, people all over Earth looked up in wonder. The stars were moving, dancing with flashes of light. Humanity's secret guardians were awake, and the real battle was about to begin, getting ready to fight back. The old ships were awake, but the war was far from over. Humans now had a chance, but they needed to learn fast. The alien invaders were angry. They attacked harder than ever. In a secret base under the Atlantic Ocean, Sarah stood in front of a huge spaceship. It was silver and shaped like an arrow. The ship was as big as a city. Wow, she whispered. It's beautiful. Dr. Carter walked up beside her. This is the Phoenix, he said. It's the biggest ship in our fleet, and it's going to be our home for a while. Sarah turned to him, surprised. Our home? What do you mean? We're going to space, Dr. Carter said. We need to learn how to use these ships, and we need to find out more about the aliens. Just then, Mike and John joined them. They were wearing new uniforms with a Phoenix patch on the shoulder. Ready for space boot camp? Mike asked with a grin. Sarah laughed. I guess so. But who's going to teach us? Dr. Carter pointed to the ship. The ship itself will teach us. It has an eye that knows everything about how it works. They walked into the Phoenix. Inside, it was like a high-tech city. There were rooms for thousands of people, labs, training areas, and a big control room. In the control room, a hologram appeared. It looked like a woman made of light. Welcome, the hologram said. I am Phoenix Eye. I'm here to help you learn. For the next few weeks, Sarah, Mike, John, and hundreds of other chosen humans trained hard. They learned how to fly the ships, use the weapons, and understand the alien technology. It wasn't easy. The technology was so advanced it seemed like magic. Sarah spent hours trying to understand how the energy weapons worked. Mike struggled with the gravity controls. John had trouble with the faster-than-light engines. But they didn't give up. They thought of Earth, of all the people counting on them. They thought of Emily and all those who had died. It kept them going. One day, during a flying lesson in a simulator, Sarah crashed her virtual ship for the 10th time. I can't do this, she yelled, frustrated. The Phoenix Eye appeared next to her. Sarah, do you know why these ships were built? Sarah shook her head. They were built to protect, the AI said. The aliens who made them wanted to keep other races safe. That's why the ships respond to emotions as well as commands. Don't just fly with your hands. Fly with your heart. Sarah took a deep breath and tried again. This time, she thought about protecting Earth. Suddenly, flying felt natural. She zoomed through the virtual asteroid field easily. I did it, she shouted happily. Similar breakthroughs happened for everyone. They were learning fast. But it wasn't all just training. They also had to gather information about the enemy. One day, Dr. Carter called everyone to the control room. We've captured an alien ship, he said. We need a team to go explore it. Sarah, Mike, and John volunteered. They put on special suits and entered the alien ship. It was dark and strange inside. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with a faint light. As they explored, they found alien bodies. The aliens were even scarier up close. They had 4 arms, scaly skin, and big black eyes. Look at this, Mike said. He pointed to a screen with strange symbols. Sarah studied it. Thanks to her training with the Phoenix Eye, she could understand some of it. It's a map, she said. I think it shows where they came from. Suddenly, the ship started to shake. We need to get out of here, John yelled. They ran back to their ship just as the alien vessel exploded. But they had the information they needed. Back on the Phoenix, they shared what they learned. The aliens, called the Fracks, came from a planet far away. They attacked Earth because they needed a new home. Their own world was dying. So they're just trying to survive. Sarah said, like us. Dr. Carter nodded. Yes, but that doesn't make killing innocent people right. We still need to stop them. As they talked, alarms started blaring. The Phoenix Eye appeared, looking worried. A large Vrax fleet is heading to Earth, it said. They're planning a final attack to wipe out humanity. Everyone looked at each other. This was it, the moment they had trained for. Dr. Carter stood up. It's time, he said. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Let's show these aliens that humanity won't go down without a fight. As the Phoenix and the rest of the human fleet prepared for battle, Sarah looked out at the stars. She thought of Emily, of Earth, of everything they were fighting for. We're coming, she whispered. Hold on, Earth. We're coming to save you. The biggest battle in human history was about to begin. And this time, humanity had a chance to win. First big space battle. The alarms on the Phoenix blared loudly. Red lights flashed everywhere. Sarah ran to her station in the control room. Mike and John were already there. This is it, Sarah said, her heart beating fast. Our first real battle. Dr. Carter's voice came over the speakers. All ships prepare for combat. Remember your training. We're fighting for Earth. Sarah looked out the big window. Hundreds of human ships were moving into position. The Phoenix was at the front, leading the fleet. Then they saw the enemy. Thousands of Vrax ships filled the sky. They looked like dark clouds moving towards Earth. There's so many of them, Mike whispered, sounding scared. The Phoenix Eye appeared. Don't worry, it said. Our ships are stronger. We have a chance. Suddenly, the Vrax ships fired. Green beams of energy shot towards the human fleet. Shields up, John yelled. A blue bubble appeared around each human ship. The green beams hit the shields and bounced off. Our turn, Sarah said. She pressed a button. The Phoenix fired back. A bright white beam shot out, hitting a Vrax ship. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire. Direct hit, Mike shouted happily. The space around Earth turned into a war zone. Beams of light crisscrossed the sky. Ships zoomed back and forth, trying to hit each other. Sarah focused on flying the Phoenix. The ship responded to her thoughts, moving exactly where she wanted. She dodged enemy fire and got into position to shoot back. Sarah, watch out, John yelled. A huge Vrax ship was coming straight at them. It was twice the size of the Phoenix. Hold on, Sarah shouted. She made the Phoenix dive down at the last second. The Vrack's ship missed them by inches. As they passed under the Vrack's ship, Mike fired all weapons. The bottom of the alien ship exploded. It started to fall apart. "Great teamwork," the Phoenix Eye said. But the battle was far from over. For every Vrack's ship they destroyed, it seemed like two more appeared. "We need to do something big," Dr. Carter said, "or we'll lose this fight." Sarah had an idea. "The Vrack ships are all connected, right? They share information." "Yes," the AI confirmed. "They use a network to coordinate their attacks." "Then let's use that against them," Sarah said. She explained her plan quickly. Dr. Carter nodded. "It's risky, but it might work." "Do it." Sarah, Mike, and John worked together. They created a special computer virus. If they could get it into one Vrack ship, it would spread to all of them. "We need to get close to their main ship," Sarah said. The Phoenix flew towards the center of the Vrack's fleet. Enemy ships fired at them from all sides. Their shields were getting weaker. "Shields at 20%, the AI warned. "Almost there," Sarah said through gritted teeth. They reached the main Vrack ship. It was enormous, like a floating city. "Now," Sarah yelled. Mike fired the virus like a torpedo. It hit the Vrack ship and disappeared inside. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, all the Vrack ships stopped moving. "It's working," John shouted. "They're all shutting down." The virus had spread through the entire Vrack's fleet. Their ships floated in space, powerless. A cheer went up from every human ship. They had won their first big battle. But their happiness didn't last long. A message came from Earth. "Good job up there," the president's voice said. "But we have bad news. A group of Vrack soldiers landed on Earth during the fight. They've taken over New York City." Sarah, Mike, and John looked at each other. They knew what this meant. The space battle was over, but the ground war was just beginning. "We're not done yet," Sarah said. "Now we have to save New York." As the Phoenix turned back towards Earth, Sarah thought about Emily again. "We won this battle for you," she whispered. "And we'll win the next one too." The first big space battle was over. Humanity had shown they could fight back. But the war was far from over. The real test was still to come. Finding out the evil plan. The Phoenix landed in a secret base outside New York City. Sarah, Mike, and John stepped out, feeling tired but proud. They had won the space battle, but now they had a new mission. "We need to find out what the Vracks are doing in New York," Dr. Carter said. He looked worried. "And we need to do it fast." They went to a big room full of screens and computers. It was the command center for the ground war. Soldiers and scientists were working hard, trying to understand the alien invasion. Suddenly, one of the scientists called out, "We caught one. We caught a Vrack soldier." Everyone ran to see. On a big screen, they saw a Vrack's alien in a cell. It looked angry and scared. "We need to question it," Dr. Carter said. He turned to Sarah. "You've studied their language. Can you talk to it?" Sarah felt nervous, but she nodded. "I'll try." They went to the cell where the Vracks was being held. It was behind a strong glass wall. When it saw them, it made a loud hissing noise. Sarah took a deep breath and spoke in the Vrack's language. It wasn't easy. The words felt strange in her mouth. "Why are you here? What do you want?" The Vracks looked surprised to hear its own language. It answered in a deep, growling voice. Sarah listened carefully and translated for the others. "He says they came here because they had to," Sarah said. "Their world is dying. They need a new home." "But why attack us?" Mike asked. "Why not just ask for help?" Sarah asked the Vracks. Its answer made her face turn pale. "What did it say?" John asked, looking worried. Sarah swallowed hard. He says Earth is perfect for them, but not with us on it. Their plan is to kill all humans. They want to take over our planet. Everyone was quiet for a moment. The truth was worse than they had thought. "There's more," Sarah said. She had asked the Fracks about Emily, the girl they had killed at the start of the invasion. "He says they killed her on purpose. They wanted to scare us, to show us how easy it was for them to hurt us." Dr. Carter's face turned red with anger. "They murdered an innocent child just to scare us. That's evil." The Vrack spoke again. This time, it sounded almost proud. Sarah's eyes widened as she translated. "He says they have a weapon, a big one, hidden in New York. If we don't surrender, they'll use it to kill everyone on Earth." Mike slammed his fist against the wall. "We can't let them do that." John nodded. "We need to find that weapon and stop it." Dr. Carter agreed. "Sarah, ask it where the weapon is." But when Sarah asked, the Vracks just laughed. It wouldn't tell them anything more. They left the cell, feeling frustrated and scared. They had found out the evil plan, but they didn't know how to stop it. Back in the command center, they tried to think of a plan. The Phoenix Eye appeared, looking serious. "I've been analyzing the data from the captured Vrack ships," it said. "I think I know where their weapon might be." Everyone gathered around to listen. The AI showed a map of New York City on a big screen. "There's a strange energy reading coming from here," it said, pointing to a spot in the middle of the city. "It's unlike anything we've seen before. It must be the weapon." Sarah looked closely at the map. "That's Times Square," she said, "right in the heart of the city." Dr. Carter nodded. "It makes sense. They put it where it can do the most damage." "So what do we do?" Mike asked. "How do we stop it?" Dr. Carter thought for a moment. "We need to send a team into the city. They have to find the weapon and disable it before the Vracks can use it." "I'll go," Sarah said quickly. Mike and John nodded, agreeing to join her. "It's dangerous," Dr. Carter warned. "The city is full of Vrack soldiers, and we don't know exactly what this weapon does." Sarah thought of Emily, of all the people the Vracks had hurt. "We have to try," she said. "For Earth, for everyone." Dr. Carter looked at the young team. He saw determination in their eyes. "All right," he said. "We'll prep you for the mission. But be careful. The fate of humanity might rest on what you do in New York." As they got ready for their dangerous mission, Sarah felt scared but also excited. They had found out the evil plan. Now it was time to stop it. The future of Earth depended on what they would do next. The final battle was about to begin. Last big fight and human win. Sarah, Mike, and John crept through the empty streets of New York City. The once busy city was now silent and scary. Tall buildings loomed over them, their windows dark and empty. "It's too quiet," Mike whispered. John nodded. "Yeah, where are all the Vracks?" They had a map on a small computer. It showed where the alien weapon was supposed to be. As they got closer to Times Square, Sarah felt more and more nervous. Suddenly, they heard a noise. They quickly hid behind a crashed car. A group of Vrack soldiers marched past, carrying big guns. "That was close," Sarah said softly. They waited until it was safe, then kept moving. Finally, they reached Times Square. In the middle, where the famous big screens used to be, was a huge, strange machine. It glowed with an eerie green light. "That must be the weapon," John said. Sarah looked at her computer. "Yes, that's it. We need to shut it down." They moved closer, trying to stay hidden. But then a loud voice boomed out. "Stop right there, humans." They froze. From all around, Vrack soldiers appeared. They were surrounded. A big Vracks, who looked like the leader, stepped forward. "Did you really think you could sneak in here?" he said in broken English. "We knew you were coming." Sarah's heart sank. It was a trap. The Vracks leader laughed. "Now, watch as we destroy your world." He pressed a button on the big machine. It started to hum loudly. The green light got brighter. "No," Sarah yelled. She tried to run to the machine, but Vrack's soldiers grabbed her. All seemed lost. But then, something amazing happened. The sky lit up with bright flashes. Everyone looked up. Human ships, led by the Phoenix, were attacking the Vrack ships above the city. "It's Dr. Carter," Mike shouted happily. He brought the fleet. The Vracks were distracted. Sarah knew this was their chance. She elbowed the soldier holding her and broke free. "Now," she yelled to Mike and John. They fought their way to the machine. Vrack's soldiers tried to stop them, but they were too slow. Sarah reached the control panel. But there were so many buttons and levers. "Which one stops it?" she cried. The machine was humming louder. The ground started to shake. "We're running out of time," John shouted. Sarah closed her eyes. She remembered what the Phoenix Eye had taught her. Don't just think. Feel. She put her hand on the machine and felt its energy. Suddenly, she knew what to do. She pressed 3 buttons quickly, then pulled the big lever. The humming stopped. The green light faded. "You did it," Mike yelled. But the Vrack's leader was angry. "You'll pay for this," he growled. He pointed his gun at Sarah. Just then, a white beam hit him. He fell down, unconscious. Dr. Carter stood there, holding a strange gun. "Sorry I'm late," he said with a smile. More human soldiers arrived. They captured the Vracks and took control of the weapon. Sarah, Mike, and John hugged each other. They had done it. They had saved Earth. Later, on the Phoenix, they watched as the last Vrack ships left Earth. The aliens had surrendered. The war was over. "We won," Sarah said softly. "I can't believe we actually won." Dr. Carter put a hand on her shoulder. "We won because of you, all of you. You showed true courage and humanity." The president's voice came over the radio. "The world thanks you," she said. "You're all heroes." As they flew back to Earth, Sarah thought about everything that had happened. She thought about Emily, the little girl whose death had started it all. "We did it, Emily," she whispered. "We saved our world. You can rest in peace now." The Phoenix landed to cheering crowds. People were celebrating all over the world. Humans had faced their biggest challenge and won. They had proved that they were stronger than anyone thought. As Sarah stepped off the ship, a little girl ran up to her. "Thank you for saving us," the girl said, giving Sarah a hug. Sarah hugged her back, tears in her eyes. In that moment, she knew that all the fear, all the fighting, all the hard work had been worth it. Humanity had won, and they were stronger than ever.